Do you want me to, because you gave me some heads up about this talk and I created a script so that I could be on topic. Do you want me to read some of it for your audience? Because
Sure.
I could
Which
read
is that
some of
something you like to do?
Yeah, I think that freestyling's great, but like I said, I love using my technology to organize my thoughts. So
Yeah,
if
dude.
they want to listen, I'll read.
Right on.
All right. There's not one transhumanism, there are transhumanisms. There are organizational groups, institutions, and corporations devoted to aspects under the umbrella term, but it's not a rigid definition. It shouldn't be lost on anyone that a term can be an adaptable tool depending on who uses it, because language was, in fact, our first invention. Transhumanism, or humanism plus, can be defined as the merging of conscious life with technology and the willful desire to steer our evolution in an intelligent way to mitigate catastrophes that may arise as we redesign ourselves. It is an emergent set of ideas that are the result of many historical forces, including factors acting on humanity from religions and the secular philosophy called humanism, which I will talk about later. Simply, embracing science and progress are the reason we live under common law and not the law of Moses. We enjoy a standard of living today because of a paradigm shift that happened just generations ago, where a relatively small group of men and women conspired to change public attitudes towards science and technology. This wasn't an easy fire to spread because they had to compete with religious fanaticism. During the year of the Long Parliament in the mid-1600s, Matthew Hopkins, as Witchfinder General, executed more than 200 old women for practicing witchcraft. Change in worldview had to come from within the church community itself for mass man to begin to slowly ease up on superstitious belief. For example, the official historian of the Royal Society in 1667, Bishop Thomas Sprat, wrote that the ancient miracles of the Bible were privileged phenomenon, unlikely to be repeated, because God no longer interfered with his creation. As an aside, I really wonder what kind of pushback he got for saying that.
Hmm.
The Royal Society, the oldest and most respected scientific society in the world, avoided religious conflict at the time by towing the party line until their doubts could be unocculted after the Restoration, when scientific thought and experiment broke free. It is said that the men who founded this society were not just the first scientists, but the last sorcerers.
Hmm.
Before this, the world of the spheres in the sky and the fires of transmutation belonged to alchemists and Rosicrucians. The unifying force that was able to draw its circle of power and transcend the church in popular discourse came from the unifying of 6 refugees from both sides of the English Civil War. The concept of experimental science had been developing on both sides during the war, and it was a strong enough common interest to inspire these men. Some see science as waging a war of attrition on religion, and I agree. Easter is coming. This is marked by the first Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox. To plan the ecclesiastical calendars, church leaders had to have solar observatories built in their institutions so that someone could predict the dates. It was from these observatories, known as Meridana, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, that we know the sun does not revolve around the earth in a circular orbit, but moves into an ellipse with the movement of seasons. Yeah. Watching the movement of shadows and light was all it took to gain this insight. Church employees also learned that the angle between the Earth and the Sun changed slightly with time, a phenomenon that we now call precession, caused by the wobble in the Earth's axis. One astronomer, Giovanni Cassini, combined the data from St. Peter's Meridiana with his own telescope observations and was able to predict accurate orbits for Mars and Venus and also find several new moons going around Saturn. His math used elliptical orbits. But this man never gave an opinion about the Earth's mobility, because under contract, the whole universe revolved around the throne of the Pope. On that note, have you heard Galileo's public confession under oath? It's disgusting. I'll read it for you if you want. I, Galileo, kneeling before you, most eminent and reverend Lord Cardinals, Inquisitors General, against heretical depravity throughout the whole Christian Republic, have before my eyes, and touching with my hands the Holy Gospels, swear that I have always believed, do believe, and by God's help will in the future believe all that is held, preached, taught by the Holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. But whereas after an injunction had been judicially intimated to me by the Holy Office to the effect that I must altogether abandon the false opinion that the sun is the center of the world and immovable, and that the earth is not the center of the world and moves, and that I must not hold, defend, or teach in any way whatsoever, verbally or in writing, the said false doctrine. So needless to say, slowly people were eventually able to begin experimenting with natural phenomenon out in the open. Myth attributes the support of the king over the church to this initial push, but public opinion was swayed the more time scientists correctly forecasted phenomena, such as the return of Halley's Comet. People were also ready for it, ready to spend the calories necessary to understand the mechanisms. These are just some aspects of transhumanism, the scientific spirit to replicate results, prepare for the future, and explore cause and effect while remaining free from any particular dogma.
Mm-hmm.
As the population of Earth grew, technological advances began affecting more and more humans with each leap. Technology is transformative, and the shift in scientific tolerance made way for the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution did for humanity what religion could not do for us for thousands of years. It doubled the lifespan. And we have no idea about Atlantis, so who knows? Everyone who talks about transhumanism seems to bring up the automobile replacing the horse as one example of transformative technology. So I'll bring up a different technology, the cotton gin. The cotton gin, short for cotton engine, was an invention by a man from Massachusetts named Eli Whitney, circa 1794, that greatly sped up the process of producing cotton by removing seeds from the fiber. Before the invention, the cotton had to be painstakingly removed by hand, one plant at a time. The average cotton picker / slave could only remove the seeds of about 1 pound of short staple cotton per day. While he was invited to stay on a plantation in Georgia, the woman who owned the land explained to Eli what a problem this was for everyone involved. This excerpt, taken from history.com website, explains his invention. Cotton was run through a wooden drum embedded with a series of hooks that caught the fibers and dragged them through a mesh. The mesh was too fine to let the seeds through, but the hooks pulled the cotton fibers through with ease. Smaller gins could be cranked by hand, larger ones could be powered by a horse and later by a steam engine. Winnie's hand crank machine could remove the seeds from 50 pounds of cotton in a single day. You know, and he was really excited about the horse-powered ones someday that they would make. He was also a huge proponent of standardization. And standardization is a problem. I'm sure if you've ever had to do a project where you're like renovating something or fixing something and you can't find the right size screw or like nuts and bolts. I mean, if things used less of a variation and more standardization, I feel like we could fix things easier, you know? Or like if you have a multinational project,
Right.
your people have to be able to speak the same kind of measuring system and units, all of that, you know? So I'm very much for standardization. Okay.
I mean, I experience that when I go to the gym.
What's that?
I experience that when I go to the gym, that like the weights are, you know, set at 45, 25, 10, like almost any gym you go to, you know, that is like the weight breakdown and that the male barbell is 45, the female is 35. Like, so yeah,
Right.
that's my brain going to like, okay, that's something that I can actually see in my life.
Right. I don't measure a lot of things, but that I can really resonate with because I had to know how much I was putting on the end of a bar, you know. Also rough estimate of, you know, from kilograms to pounds.
Exactly. Yeah.
When it comes to cotton gins, the
Oh,
old
booyah,
saying is
nice.
true. Adobe Wall's gin
So
near Spearmint is
I have a
now the
link
largest
there
cotton
of a
gin
video
in the
showing the
US.
modern
And
cotton
they're
gin
not
in
stopping
Texas.
there.
Can you play
When
it?
we do the expansion, they tell us it'll be the biggest gin in the world. That's just what we've been told by the people that, you know, there's only like 4 gin manufacturers, so they know what's everywhere.
Plant 2 came online in December, adding 4 more gin lines to the 5 already running in Plant 1. That's a grand total of 9 stands under one roof, ginning cotton for the upper Texas panhandle.
It's just amazing what we can do.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, I was thinking that like
Adobe Walls will be the largest cotton gin in the world. Not bad for an area that didn't have a gin a little over a decade
No,
ago.
people shit on humans all the time. Man, we built the pyramids.
started
Like,
moving
if
up
you
this
have a
country probably in
big
chop
enough
down just a little bit.
2004,
reason
2003.
and a generational
Traditionally grain
project, you can do
country.
anything. But
Cotton
now
was just creeping
technology just
north
lets
as
us do it
varieties got shorter.
so
Nobody
much
really
quicker,
thought we could
you
grow
know?
cotton,
Yeah.
but they
Like,
Yeah.
kind of right on I-40.
sons used to be taught by their father a trade,
Mm.
and then they taught it to their sons, and you just had families doing the same thing for years.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
it's like you can just switch careers, you know, relatively
Mhm.
fast if you want to.
Mhm.
And we've got all of this open source knowledge as it is.
Farm experience in Spearman.
It's just
That was
amazing.
an area that was going to really explode with cotton. We figured we better just put our hat in the ring.
Yeah, so that's the video. I just
Right
it's
on. Right on.
impressive, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean, just the size of those. I don't know. Would you call them bales? Let me share this tab instead, and then go here. Yeah, I was just impressed at how massive it was, and like, yeah, I mean, I think there's like, yeah, I'm super impressed.
Yeah. You know, Texas, they say everything's bigger in Texas. All
Mhm.
of the population of Canada pretty much fits in Texas.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of people in Texas. All right. So about the cotton gin. Oops. Yeah, there's some videos that were like pointing out that this machine contributed to more slavery. And while it's true that after this, the booming profits of cotton production spread slavery farther throughout the entire southern United States of America, pushed it west, it meant profits could outcompete tobacco and sugar. So this also raised the quality of life for the indentured servants, which is a consolation nonetheless. And historically, the plantation owners who were making a profit could afford to make better housing and feed their workers better. So that's just one example. Now we have wall-to-wall machines that, as you see, that can do the work. So machines are actually the new slaves. They are liberating us. And it will only get better. I have a piece here that's that I was trying not to get too emotional when I wrote this, but I will say I have felt like a slave myself. I've taken the inoculation called existential crisis. I was so disillusioned with government and human organization during COVID that I began to fear the worst about everything. And it was a real low point. And that helplessness you feel when you think someone is coercing you into an action against your will and pushing you into poverty because they hate you is absolutely morale crushing. Not working anymore. Yeah, I quit both my jobs and I wrote an email to my employer saying that I just couldn't sign the government mandates, provincial mandates, because I just had an ethical problem with it. So, yeah. I suddenly had time at home to listen to podcasts. It worked out because I got pregnant at the same time, so it was fine. It worked out.
One of the things
So
that
I
like
spent
that's
a
a
lot of
sleeper
time
again is like caffeine mixed with L-theanine. Like that's like the one. I don't know too much, but like even that, just so that you can kind of curb the stimulating effect of caffeine, so that you can still be awake but you're not so jittery. So yeah, I mean, I think I'm totally for that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I know. Well, I can't remember a lot of the ingredients, but I just know that there was this one by Muscle Tech that was good for me. I was liking it. But it gets expensive, you know. Oh, I just touched my keyboard. Yeah, it gets expensive. So, I mean, as the technology gets better, hopefully it'll just get cheaper. Yeah. So yeah, he describes nootropics as psychoactive substances that are intended to boost concentration, creativity, memory, and vitality. This is interesting. Smart helmets that deliver transcranial direct current stimulation or other electromagnetic stimulation. I actually saw an ad. Someone sent me an ad for one of those the other day, and I was like, "What is this?" But yeah, it's going to be a thing. Guided lucid dreaming, guided hypnotism, and guided meditation. Like, I almost want to sign up to be a teacher for that. Train me.
Yeah, why not?
Right? Where the guidance takes account of biomonitoring measurements. So you probably need some kind of medical training there. Personalized intelligent assistance, which can coach people regarding actions likely to affect their mental health or their personal relationships. Improved brain-computer interfaces, which can infer user intention without their user needing to type it, write it, or speak it. Synthetic extensions of the nervous system, as being explored like in Neuralink and in the by the Kernel Company founded by Brian Johnson. The possible
Okay.
addition of new brain cells. Yeah, I really like those. He had one more thing here that was, I thought, really important that I'll skip to. Yeah. There's a growing pandemic of suicide, self-harm, and general self-sabotage. Even when we appear to be in control of our mental health most of the time, we often damage our own well-being by short periods of unwise behavior, emotional spasms, or self-deception. Just being clever is no assurance of avoiding stupidity or self-destruction. It's all around intelligence that's needed badly. So, I mean, yeah, self-destruction is something that I worry about for people. It's like, at the same time that I believe you have a right to do what you want with your life, maybe some of this technology will help you feel better and think clearer. And I mean, there's people who have cognitive issues that could really benefit. Like, I mean, I was surprised to learn that fetal alcohol syndrome disorder, spectrum disorder, is like the leading mental disability in Canada. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, FASD, people struggle with memory and attention and concentration, and like, wouldn't it be nice to help these people, you know?
Totally.
So that's just an example of what cognotech is. So yeah.
I dig it. I like the idea of, you know, the virtual reality or the augmented reality mixed with the haptic stuff where like you're physically moving through space, or you might be in a little cubicle, but you're out in some like big three-dimensional space. And then I think of like through the mental health aspect that you could actually kind of simulate certain traumatic experiences or certain things in a safe environment, and you can kind of give the exposure to these things. Whereas like in the real world, you wouldn't be able to, you know, relive a car accident per se or something. I'm just thinking out loud. But all that is like far out tech. Like, you know, and I like that because then it's like, hey, we notice that we're not just gonna absorb all this technology and just keep progressing forward, but we're actually gonna acknowledge like that there's a lot of human suffering right now, and how can we alleviate that, especially this whole mental health crisis. Like I'm like, yeah, so that's nice that you shared that.
Yeah, I mean, so if you're a young man and you want to get paid well, a lot of times you go to a camp job and you're away from your family. And this is why they're dry camps, because like people get bored. But what happens when you have something like a Unimatrix where you can go and meet your lover there? I'm just saying, this is actually a benefit. People are like, ooh, cyber sex. Like, they're all scared of it and making it weird. It's like, there's married couples who would use this, you know, like a
Yeah.
whole body experience with someone 1,000 miles away is actually
Yeah.
very cool. So,
And
you know, the next time we get locked down, we're going to have more of a human experience because of technology. That'd be great. So.
Yeah. I had something, but I can't remember now.
I mentioned the transhumanist shadow, and when I realized that I was living in it, it was like an aha moment for me. So I wrote a little about it. David coined this word for people who are irrationally afraid of technology because they think we're on some deterministic trajectory of sci-fi dystopia called the transhumanist shadow. You can find tweets where he really goes into it. One of the ways he absolutely won me over is that he challenges critics of transhumanism all the time with such patience. I was one of those people being rude in the comments. I was. It's really embarrassing, but I was. One time he explains to someone calling transhumanism a death cult that transhumanism emphasizes contingency and possibility rather than inevitability. But when the black holes of the internet suck you into conspiracy theories, you get an overdose of agenda and not enough nuance. It's common to believe that technocrats and bureaucrats are evil rather than see that bureaucracy is a leviathan that needs taming. It's not the best, it's just the best we have. Political science and social science are barely a science still. There's just no resetting the simulation, so why don't we go full throttle into positivism? Transhumanism is a towering obelisk that casts a shadow all the way from Mars, and the ants at the bottom fearing the shadow are the humans who haven't looked up yet. The shadow is a distortion and not the truth. And then She's knocking at the door. Aw, she's sad.
Mama. Yeah, I like this a lot. Because it's, oh, that's what I was going to say, that like that this is the first step, just having these conversations, that are people even talking about like the technology that we're about to just receive, like the chat GPT and all of this tech. It's already here, and it's just going to compound within the next, like, from here on. And so it's like, I think my concern is like, can people just start talking about this? And that's, what we're doing. And then can we get the shadow to be understood and find that this is a distortion and start to work with that at least?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I have my Telegram channel. I just decided, you know what? I'm an artist making music. I deserve to have a Telegram channel. I'm just going to be all out, and just do it. And I don't care what people think. And I've been just gauging how popular I see ideas getting by the YouTube views. It's more than it was a few months ago,
Mm-hmm.
It's getting there. And I think that we're just riding a wave that's, like you say, it's about to go exponential.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm glad to be alive now. This is exciting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I defined positivism there because not a lot of people know what positivism is. I had to take a sociology class to really understand what it was, but now that I say this, more people will know. It's a philosophy
Mm-hmm.
initially thought of by Auguste Comte, the modern founder of sociology, and simply all laws need to be tested against data systematically and continuously. And I believe that positivism will come to embrace the study of metaphysics, which are all the phenomena we can't explain because until now it's just looked like magic. Morphic resonance is an easy one that comes to mind. I believe that we will make time to study these things. Why not? People are interested in the novel and the numinous. So, and these I can't say that everything is superstition, I can't throw it all out. So I've had intense synchronicities in life that I just can't explain. It's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, as Yuval Harari, that is this guy. One second. Should just keep my books closer to me. Actually, where is that one? Oh, this is his book. Okay. This is the book by Yuval Harari.
Well, let me pull this out.
Okay. It's called Homo Deus, A Brief History of Tomorrow. Against all expectations, God's death did not lead to social collapse. That's a great point because when you look around, things actually do seem to go better than expected. He credits this to the revolutionary creed that conquered the world along with her technology, a valid substitute for a religion called Humanism. He explains that whereas traditionalists say the cosmic plan is what gives meaning to the lives of humans, humans are what give meaning to the cosmos. We draw from our inner experiences not only the meaning of our lives, but the meaning of the entire universe. Losing faith in God can be the gaining of faith in humanity. Our free will can be the highest authority of all. As the source of meaning and authority relocated from the sky to human feelings, the nature of the entire cosmos changed. That's my favorite quote from him.